Hey folks, this is Matt Rainwater, and before we get reading to this episode, I just wanted to stop for a moment and say if there's any sort of time weirdness that you might notice in the videos, if I seem older in videos that were made later or whatever, it's because I totally did these commentaries out of order. I started, I think, around episode I think I originally started somewhere around episode 74 or 75 to upload to Patreon. To like have basically the idea was to have episodes that would coincide with episodes being released. I eventually kind of fell out of rhythm with that, and I just kind of was like, oh, screw it, I'll just do it this way, which was I started from the very beginning, worked all my way up to episode 69, and for whatever reason, maybe it was the number, who knows, I stopped at episode 69 and left 70 through 74 just untouched. Uh, I think I blanked. That might have also been around the time when this flood happened. That just kind of caused a lot of just distractions. One way of putting it. Just a lot of chaos in my life for a moment. But everything's better after that. It's been a while, right? And I was planning on recording new episodes of these commentaries after I had gotten new video equipment and new audio equipment, but as they say, right, invention is the mother of necessity, and necessity being I need to release a new episode for this week, that's what I did. So I'm recording this episode. And let's get started, right? Thanks for letting me just give you all that little heads up. And let's get going. So it's a cold open for this episode. This is episode 70, by the way. Good morning, Elder Lenny. Is that what's happening? Good morning as well, then. How fares it, Wanderer? Just getting up and starting the day. How about you? Just getting up. I've yet to come down. Ba-doom doom. So, anyway, very few people are going to understand this. It's a reference that I built into this character of Lenny, as we're going to find out. He is based on Terrence McKenna, who was this self-dubbed shamanologist, basically a drug guy. If you search him on YouTube, you're going to find thousands upon thousands of videos of Terrence McKenna talking a lot about a number of different topics, one of which is psychedelics, another one which is a crackpot pet theory of his he had called time wave. And if you're interested in the weird stuff like that, coast to coast AM territory, I highly recommend checking these out. If that's not for you, hey, no worries. But the main reason I base that character off of him is because Terrence McKenna was actually a pretty big influence on me as when I was younger, and when I was making this story. Still is influential in a lot of ways, but I would say nowadays a lot of the counterculture figures don't weigh in on as heavily as they did when I was younger. So anyway, just a little aside before we get into the meat of this episode. Trailer Park Warlock, Jake Baker and the Loaded Elder. Thanks again for giving me a ride to the Union, Jake. Ain't nothing. Just wish everything weren't so early with these Mancer Union gigs. Late night for you last night? Whoosh. Yeah. Been studying for my license renewal and it's giving me a stir. Boom. So, just as an aside here, something I was thinking about in regards to this was that riding a broom is like the magic version of riding a bicycle. So it's something that kind of like hipster people do to save money on gas and whatnot. Mr. McKenny, who the hell still rides a broom these days? Oh, Herman. Wonderful to see you. I thought you were a tree for a moment there. Will you be participating in my industrial wands workshop today? Nah, I'm doing a plant medicine thing today, but my friend Jake will be there. Ah, I see. The one with the countenance of a bobcat. I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting you, Jake. Better grab some coffee while you can. It's going to be a long day. A long day of what exactly? Now, why would I go and spoil the surprise? Good morning, everyone. I hope that you are well rested, because these workshops tend to drag on longer than advertised. And I assure you, not for lack of refinement on my part. There's just so much to cover with the field of wands and their industrialized nature in our modern era. But first, a proper introduction, a brief history, if I may. The wand has ever been the accomplice of the working magus since its invention, an origin that, to this day, remains a mystery to our best archaeologists and arcanomancers. Though mainstream historians trace its origins to Mesopotamia, some evidence suggests histories of an even deeper time scale. The ticking clock. Brass, copper, gold, titanium, platinum, anything but wood. The old guard had a foolish fixation with wood. And then Jake is just like getting lost in the sauce. And so one may ask, why do we even need sigils anymore? Aye, but there's the rub, correct? Wands and sigils. Now we're talking high magic. Oops, sorry. Millennia of knowledge fueled only by a ceaseless pursuit for this historical necessity. The Philosopher's Stone still remains at large. The frequency is largely dependent on a ratio between two measurements, and those are the circumference of the rod and the length of the entire instrument. Modifications included, not just the initial conducting rod. Jake is he's just a face now. He's just eyes and a mouth. And with that, we conclude the lecture portion of our day. Next, we'll begin field training, but I advise we all take a moment, grab a bite to eat, a drink of water, and we'll meet again in 30 minutes' time. And now Jake's the one who's high. Beep, beep. Jake at the vending machine. Pop. Crumble, crack. Ah, Jake. I'm glad to see you replenishing your reserves. I hope my lecture didn't wear you down too much. Yeah, no, what? Very well. I just wanted to inform you that we'll be meeting in the ARC facility at 12:30. Please remember to take an extra 10 minutes to suit up. I advise full hydration before this next portion of the day. Field training can be quite physically laborious. Did I say this was Season 4 by accident, by the way? In case I did, this is Season 3. Starting to remember. Munch, 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 munch. Mancer's Union 2311 ARC facility. Protective gear required. I believe it of the utmost importance to always show my students how the sausage is made, so to speak. Holy. No more holier than a toaster oven, I assure you. Here's where the rod forms its energetic properties and, consequently, the quickest way to charge spent wands. I do apologize for the rush, but we must get on with our day if I'm to have you all fully prepared for certification. These are what we mockingly refer to as the pull cues. Quite standard in most industrial projects, but these particular rods are charged with only one spell, the Flight of Delambra. So nothing special, just a little teleportation ritual for the class, but I'll need some volunteers to take station along with me. Do I have any takers? By the way, the Flight of Delambra is a reference to The Fly. In case you don't figure out in just a second why. My, don't we have some eager beavers in the class today? I can't blame you, it is the fun part. As for the remainder of you, this pre-scrawled circle is where you will be standing. Your goal will be a simple intention filled so that we may make our sojourn. Maybe it's just me, but the teleportation doesn't sound like a little spell. It's not just you. Now, class, remember, Our destination is the Frosty King on the corner of Wasatch and Platt Street. Shouldn't be too tricky. I'm certain we've all been there, so just begin to visualize it in your mind's eye. Don't rely on me to guide us there. Why is that now? If you must know, my mind's eye remains, let us say, distracted for the moment, so please stay focused. Focus. They're all thinking about the Frosty King. Now we cut to Antarctica. Wonk, wonk. 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 Wonk, wonk. So ridiculous once we get into the penguins, and they become everything in this story after a while. Foom. Wonk. Wonk, wonk, wonk. Wonk, wonk. Oh, hell, this ain't the Frosty King, unless they've expanded. Wonk, wonk. To be continued. So, clearly they end up in Antarctica by accident. And Terror of the Week for this one was the Moon card. So, I may have mentioned this before, but the Moon card it actually started intentionally as the cover for what would be the cover for the very first book of Trailer Park Warlock, if I ever print a book, and that would correspond with the very first season that I ever released on Webtoon. As you can tell, it's very corresponds with a lot of the story elements, right, that take place in season 1. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I really have to say about this. I actually, for a while, I kind of didn't like the way this design turned out. I think because it's old art. That's the main reason. And old art only tends to get older as I get older and as I start to improve in my skills. But this is holding up pretty well for the most part. Beyond that, main thing I was thinking about just in regards to this episode, getting into the commentary part, right? So I did a little bit, not a lot of it, a little bit of research about like street names for Pueblo, Colorado, because that was where they were going to target themselves to go to with their teleportation spell. And I just wanted to find that real quick. Because those street names actually legit exist in the real world. Wasatch and Platt. And that was based off of like a Google map search. So like what I did is I Google searched Pueblo, Colorado, right? It's not very complicated, but I wanted to find an area that looked like an area where you would put a restaurant. So I think what it is in real life is a Wendy's. And I just replaced it with a Frosty King. And the Frosty King's like really just a play on the Dairy Queen, which is a pretty popular ice cream shop in my neck of the woods. That was... Well, did I have any other commentary? I already talked about Terrence McKenna, right? And I'll have more to say on him too as we go on through these episodes, because as you'll see very soon, Lenny McKenny's pivotal, more pivotal than you would think to the story of Trailer Park Warlock. And that some of that's going to get revealed in season 5, which we're not there yet as of this recording. I'm working on season 5 right now. I'm at the moment probably, how many? 7 episodes now. So I'll just say this. Keep an eye on him as a character. That's all. In regards to... Okay. I spent a fair amount of time designing these the penguins, the en passant ones. That's what they're called. They change a lot, right? Because right now they're the en passant ones, but then they become something else as we move along. And you'll notice over time as we read through these episodes, the penguins in particular, their design simplifies more and more and more. And there's kind of a moment in time, and I'll probably talk about this in later episodes, where I kind of forgot how to draw penguins. Like, I feel like, especially once we get to the character of Dutch, I feel like the character design shifts a lot, and it finally stabilizes in season 4. Um, Now I'm sure I'm going to point that out a lot because I feel a little bit embarrassed about it. I really like the way these panels turned out, especially this. This is a cool effect. I don't really use it ever again, but it was fun to use for this episode because teleportation comes up again a little later on. But I think that's. I'm gonna look through one more time and see if I had anything else. I will say I really like this when Lenny is like lecturing. I just enjoy that montage. It was really fun to make. I would make this is like a desktop wallpaper. Is what this is. I think I should honestly I should upload it sometime on the Patreon. But I just always like this idea that Lenny McKenny lectures so hard, which is actually this is kind of how Terrence McKenna lectures go, that you start just tripping. You start just losing any kind of sense of reality. And that was definitely the idea behind that little montage. And I also like this joke, as Jake is now fully tripped out from the lecture. By the way, we'll find out in a couple episodes, there's also an additional reason for why that's happening. And we'll get to that later. Anyway, all that being said, thanks y'all for reading along with me. We will talk again soon, and I will be updating these episodes fresh for the next little while. I think around 75 or 76 we'll get back to we'll time warp again back to the past. But until then, y'all have a good one, and we will talk again later. All right, bye.